Probably one of the most important things that you need to do and answer and learn how to do when you're a young entrepreneur, business person, or any young person is learn who to hang out with. A lot of times there's an initial resistance to changing. You want to become a business person and you want to keep all your friends who are your friends right now. Unfortunately, this is a law of like physics that your success is determined by the 5 people you spend the most time with. I came from a very poor background, and so I didn't have any wealthy friends. I didn't have any successful friends. I didn't have friends who were successful in a career without having any wealth. I didn't know a lot of successful people. And so who do I hang out with? And that is a little by little process. You have to begin to evaluate your friend group. And I don't mean be sociopathic about it. First step is to say, do these people really love and support me? And are they adding more to my life? And am I adding more to their lives? Together, are we better? Or are these kind of people draining me? And you got to get rid of the drainers. You got to get rid of the vampires. Just cut them off. Like, you must do that. That is an absolute, and you will feel bad about it because we're all taught that we shouldn't just cut people off and we should try and help people. And then your self-value suffers because you're like, oh, I'm not helping these people. And then they're going to judge you. They're going to be like, you changed. You're about the money now. Be like, no, I'm valuing myself. And this relationship isn't really helping me move forward. And it's really bringing me down. So you got to do that. So number one is you got to have the discipline to be able to evolve your peer group. And then the second question is, how do you go about evaluating who to learn from, who to keep in your circle? We have to judge. We have to be discerning. And the best answer for this is the Bible. The Bible says you will know them by their fruit. And so you have to look at the real fruit of people. What does that mean, Greg? It means I can show you a bunch of people who are rich and miserable. Do they have everything in every area of their life the way you want to have it? Do they have success in their relationships? And I mean their marriage. Do they have successful kids who love and follow their advice and listen to them? Are they successful in business? Or they have successful business partners and vendors they work with who are saying, you know what? He's my best client. Are they not getting involved in a lot of lawsuits? Some people out there who get sued a lot, that's probably not somebody who's got good fruit. They're divorced and they've been sued a lot and don't hang out with those people. They may be billionaires, but don't hang out with them. Know them by their fruit. And you got to be honest, because this is something I suffer with. Big mistake I still make is I want to see the best in people. And so I'll continue to associate with people after I realize they're not really good for me to associate with, because I want to try and help them. I still do this. And I know that's never going to end well. It's just not going to end well, because you will get to a level of success where you just can't tolerate hanging out with them. They're going to be so jealous. They're going to talk about you behind your back. And then you're going to have to cut it. And then they're going to say, oh, Greg has changed. He's all about the money now. I'm not. I'm just not about this. So you got to judge them by their fruit. And you have to. The Bible says to judge people. You judge them by their fruit. It's not to judge their salvation, but it's to judge their conduct, their actions, and the results in their lives. And that's how you have to look. And you've got to be disciplined about this, because the wrong person can hold you back. It's even more important with your spouse. Look for those red flags with your spouse. My first marriage that failed, there were red flags. I ignored them. That's on me. My spouse isn't the problem. It was me. I ignored the red flags. Some people that wouldn't mind those red flags. I did, and I ignored them. So you've got to judge people and look at their real fruit. You can't see the real fruit of somebody just based on their Instagram posts or whatever else it is. They will always show you the highlights, not the lowlights of their lives. You want somebody who's honest, somebody who says, listen, I was a total disaster. I still am in some areas, but I do know about A, B, and C. And so that's what you got to look for, and be very critical about judging them by their fruit and your peer group. Because if you can't find somebody who's actually better, don't leave your current peer group. Don't evolve. But when you do, you need to make sure, okay, who am I going to stop spending so much time with, and who am I going to start spending more time with and spending more time meditating on? For me, I associate with a lot of pastors from churches, because even though they may not be successful in business, they usually have good family lives and good marriages. Usually, I can't always say, because there's been a lot of mistakes, but generally those are the kind of people I surround myself with, because I do believe that success first comes in relationships spiritually, then your relationship with your wife and your kids, and then we talk about business after that. And it's got to be those priorities. If somebody's great in business and they suck at home, run, because those sacrifices and the compromises they've made, they're not something you want to do. You can't live a good life like that. What are some of the big red flags you should watch out for when dealing with somebody in business, or even in your personal life and personal relationships? You got to be discerning with this stuff, and you got to be protecting yourself. And they don't tell us this as kids. Your spirituality is the most important decision you'll ever make in your life. The second most important decision you make is who you marry, because a good spouse can lift you up heights or could tear you down to the bottom of the ocean, one or the other. And there's rarely a third direction on that. They don't tell us this as kids. They don't tell you how to pick a good spouse, but look at their fruit in their lives. Do they lie to their friends? If you have a woman who you're considering to marry who lies to her friends or talks bad about her friends behind their back, that's not somebody you should marry. I'm sorry, but it's not. Because she's gonna be talking bad about you to her friends. And let me tell you, 25 years in and there's a problem in your marriage and you find out all the bad stuff she's been saying about you, you're gonna get divorced. Or you're not gonna feel loved or appreciated. You gotta judge by their fruit. If you have a person who is not a good person in their lives, you're gonna expect them to change. And ladies, I have 3 daughters, I love them so much. Ladies, you guys think, my daughter thinks she can change somebody. You cannot. You can't change them, only they can change themselves. You get into a relationship, you think he's gonna change, he's not gonna change. If he's running around drinking and cheating and all that stuff, that's not gonna change when you get married. It may stop for a season, but he's gonna go back to that. He's not gonna change for you. So be discerning about it. I have a lot of friends who get into relationships and they see it. I'm not gonna be one to say, hey, don't marry this guy. I have employees, same thing. I have close relationships with them. I'll be like, watch out, this is a bad relationship for you. If he's going and sleeping around and you catch him, probably not gonna change. But they can still get married. You gotta be discerning with this stuff and you gotta be protecting yourself because a bad marriage will wreck your business, wreck your life, honestly. So you've gotta be real disciplined about this stuff. What are some of the big red flags you should watch out for when dealing with somebody in business or even in your personal life and personal relationships? First of all, we all have some red flags and we have to be very careful about evaluating these red flags in other people. But what I would say some big red flags in business is if you see somebody who is two-faced, they talk badly about their friends to you, they're gonna talk badly about you to other people. So that kind of two-faced thing, that's something I would watch out for. I'm not saying it's an absolute bar, but I'm saying red flag number 1. Somebody who lies to their friends, their parents. If their first answer in a difficult conversation is to lie, big red flag. You really got to test that area because when their first instinct is to lie, then there's going to come a point where they're going to lie to you and you can't trust them in business and you can't trust them in your personal life either. And then there's the big 3 that I look at, and this came from my pastor. He says that with pastors, there's 3 ways that they really mess up. It's gold, glory, and girls. From a man, of course. Gold, what is gold? You put money over people, that's gold. You chase money. I had a situation the other day where a young lawyer was in my conference room and he said something that was completely inappropriate. He was trying to do a deal. I swear on the life of my son, I literally almost kicked him out of the conference room. I was like, this deal is so important to you? It's only like a $500,000 thing. That's disgusting. It's just disgusting. Like, don't talk about swearing on the life of your son. Come on. And I knew it was a negotiation tactic. Gross. He's all about the money. Gold. Watch out for that. They've got to have something more important than just the money. Girls is obviously easy to understand. If you're chasing tail or whatever it is, and listen, successful men, we have a lot of energy. We just do. You see it, and that's where a lot of people fall. Very successful men, they step out, they have that attraction to women. It's very normal for a successful man to have that. It's just part of the package. Napoleon Hill talks about this in his Think and Grow Rich, talks about that. But you've got to control it. And then the third one is the glory. And pastors say that is the glory of God. You don't want to take away the glory of God. That's what I call arrogance. Watch out for the arrogance. When people are like, I did this, or they're always telling you their credentials, watch out for that because it's all about them and their success. And so you have to be careful. Again, these are not like hard and fast, I can't ever do business with you, because we all do this a little bit, but you got to watch what their real heart is. And I can tell you that for most people, one of those, if they're going to have a problem, it's going to be in one of those areas. And so you've got to like judge the fruit in the areas. Are they compromising their relationship because they're going to the strip clubs? Are they chasing money and working too late and not taking care of their kids or whatever because they're chasing the money? Or is it all about them? They can't ever share the glory with somebody else. I can tell you that my success, of course, all comes from God, almost as important as my team. I have had no major success in my life without the incredible input of all of my team members. They are all really instrumental to my success. And I tell any award I get, I always say, and I want to thank my team because without them, none of this would be possible. I get to get the rewards, but the truth is it's their work that makes me look good. And so, and I always say that, but there are some people who are like, thank you, it's all about me. And I've been in business with those guys and I got out. I remember I had a business deal one time and somebody else came in to help land the deal. And then the guy was talking bad about the person who came in. And I said, hey, they helped us with this deal. That was all me, he said. That joint venture did not last very long after that because it was all me. Look for the fruit. And by the way, crisis reveals who you really are. The truth is, sometimes you don't see this until you see them in crisis. It's easy for me to put on a show where you think everything is great. Let me tell you, when I have a health issue like my retina detached, that's when you really see what somebody's made of, when they're in crisis. And that may be where the true character comes out. So you can't always tell overnight if somebody's a good person or not, or somebody you want to associate with, but over time, watch them. And when you see it, you've got to act on it. Because if you do see that red flag, save yourself the trouble because you can make excuses about it, but it's eventually going to come back and bite you in the butt later on. The truth is you have to have a balance between goal orientation and process orientation. And this is the thing that nobody teaches you this, because we're either all goal oriented and you flame out, or you're all process oriented and you never have any accountability for results. So we've got to like balance between the two of having a process orientation, like I'm going to do this as long as it takes to become the level of success that I want to be. But then you've got to set these intermediary goals along the way, but just enough goals to keep you motivated and keep you on track. Because people who are all process oriented, that's like Buddhism. That's all about the process and the state and all that stuff. But there's no ultimate resolution of that. It's just who you are evolving into. But then you see these other folks, and it happens at a young age when you're really goal oriented and you hit the goals, but then you don't have any transformation. You just hit the goals. Ideally, the transformation comes as a result of going through the process to achieve the goals. But if your only goal is the goal and not a transformation, it's not going to work for you. It won't be lasting change. And the problem with any of this success coaching stuff, there's a dichotomy. There's the people who are like, you got to write your goals, specific, measurable, smart goals. So you got to be accountable with time and all this stuff. That's a smart goal. And it's good. But then you have the process. Who am I becoming? What am I evolving into? And that's all esoteric and cerebral and all that. And that's all great. You got to unify the two. And you got to figure out a way to do that in your life. And by the way, one of the things I say, it's not about the money. If you're an entrepreneur and you just want to make a lot of money, you're not going to succeed. Or you may succeed, but then have other areas of your life which fail. I know what my revenue targets are. I know how long it's going to take us to grow to a certain stage in a company, forecasting. But I always, internally, I put it at, I'm going to serve X number of clients a year. So it used to be 100 clients a year, then 1,000 clients a year, and then 5,000 clients a year. And now my goal is 10,000 clients a year, and I should be able to hit that within the next 3 years. But the work I have to do and the transformation I have to undergo to become the person whose organization is able to serve 10,000 clients a year is pretty significant. And then after 10,000 clients a year, hopefully it'll be 25,000 clients a year. And that's probably going to take me 5 to 10 more years. That may be where I top out in my career. I'm looking at some strategies to get beyond that. But for me, it's always about the number of clients I can serve in a particular time. There is a certain revenue that goes with that, but that's not the goal. The service is always the goal. And the more I can angle myself to providing better and faster and more efficient service, that's going to be the more revenue and ultimately profit I will make in my life. One of the problems in our society is with the school system. In school, we give kids grades, and the goal is to get the grade. The problem with getting good grades, it does not encourage you to try different things. And so by the time we actually get into business, maybe at the age of 22 to 25 or 30 or 40, when you're starting your business for the first time, when you think about what do I need to do to get an A, that's the result, is how do I get the A? And honestly, in real life, the reality is you have to be successful, you have to try different things and see if it works. The idea that there's this clear, easy path to success isn't true. You've got to try different things. You got to learn your lessons. You got to know what you don't know or learn what you don't know and experiment. That is not encouraged in school and academics. This is really something we're really focused on, just getting the A, which is just about reciting the information back to the teacher that you've learned throughout the year. And there's some value for memorization, and there's some value for learning formulas and things like that in school and math and how to apply things like that. But real life and real success in life comes after trial and error. And so you have to learn what you learned in school and then try it out. A famous story is FedEx, with a guy who was getting an MBA, and I think he got a C+ for his FedEx project, and FedEx worked. But now it could be that he just did a crummy project report. But the reality is that not everybody sees the vision that you see. And thankfully they don't, because that's how we evolve as a society and a world. But the truth is, a lot of life is about trial and error. So if you're somebody who got straight A's and you want to take that ambition and turn it into business, you've got to realign yourself, where you've just got to find your own measure of feedback and adjust the course. There's no way to get an A in business by not trying and failing a lot. In fact, Steve Jobs said this. His whole thing about Apple was failing forward. He failed in the next success, and that's the truth. There are many days more failures, but the successes are so huge, they outweigh the failures. And you get to a certain point in your life where that happens. The failures become smaller and the successes become bigger, and ultimately you have success and you get an A in life, but along the way, you trial and error. And that's not what the school system sets people up to do. It is not. Experimentation, thinking outside the box, we're conditioned to rote memorization and parroting back information. And hopefully you can apply it in other areas, but they don't even teach that. What's the applicability in real life? I'm not a big fan of school. School is really essential for some basic things, but then when you get into the entrepreneurial side, you got to learn the other side of it, which is how to fail and learn from your failures. If this resonates with you, let me know below, or if you'd like us to talk about something else, leave us a comment.